Namaskar and good morning. Welcome to CEC Gurukul Lectures. I am Dr. Kumar Shantanu from Department of Botany, Deshbandhu College, University of Delhi. Today we shall continue our discussion from our previous lectures. In our previous lectures, we have seen various aspects of bryophytes, its evolution, its ecological and economic importance. Also, we have started the typological studies. Amongst bryophytes, we have started studying liverworts. Amongst the liverworts, the first genus which we discussed was Marchantia. Till now, we have studied the morphological aspects of Marchantia, anatomy of Marchantia, and today we shall be continuing with another aspect of Marchantia life cycle, that is reproduction. Reproduction in Marchantia can take place through vegetative mode and it can also take place through sexual mode. The vegetative mode of reproduction we have already seen and discussed in our previous lectures. Today I am going to talk about the sexual reproduction mode in Marchantia. In Marchantia, Antheridia and Archegonia are born on special erect branches of thallus called as antheridiophores and archegoniophores respectively. In this diagram, you can very well see that the two male and female sex organs, they arise on two different thalli. The thallus of Marchantia is dioecious. On a male plant, we have a stalk-like structure bearing some male structures, male sex organs. This entire structure is called as antheridiophore. Whereas on a female plant, a long stalk bears a disc-like structure called as female receptacle, and this entire structure is called as archegoniophore. Marchantia is oogamous and sexual reproduction is dioecious. That means male and female plants are separate thalli. These erect sexual branches are continuous of the thallus and grow vertically upward through the notches at the end of the prostrate branch. An antheridiophore consists of a stalk with an 8-lobed disc at its apex. In fact, it represents a much modified branch system in which each lobe is comparable to the apex of a branch. This disc is formed as a result of repeated localized forkings of the young antheridial branch. You can very well see in the diagrams various different structures. Here you can see the disc of antheridiophore in different species of Marchantia. A transverse section of antheridiophore shows the dorsiventral symmetry, a typical of the thallus. The side corresponding to the ventral surface of the thallus usually has two deep furrows containing rhizoids and scales. When we look at the diagram of an antheridiophore at a closer view, we will find that on a stalk-like structure lies a disc-shaped structure. On this disc-shaped structure lies the antheridial chambers. Inside these antheridial chambers lies antheridia, and each of these antheridial chambers, they have an opening called as ostiole. The epidermal surface of the entire disc has air pores and air chambers as we could encounter in a normal thallus. To just show the resemblance and just to explain how the enthydiophores are an extension of thallus, you will find in a LS or the lateral section that on one end rhizoids and other structures of ventral surface of a thallus are also found. The middle of the terminal disc has anatomy similar to that of the thallus, with an upper epidermis interrupted by barrel-shaped pores that open into air chambers containing branched chlorophyllous filaments. In addition to the air chambers, there are many flask-shaped cavities which also have openings on the upper surface. Enthrydia are produced inside these cavities. Each growing point of the disc produces a number of enthrydia in acropetalous manner. A mature enthrydium consists of a short stalk, a globular body. The jacket of the body is formed by a single layer of thin-walled cells, and it encloses a large number of enterocytes. When water enters into the slightly concave disc of enthydiophore, it moves through the narrow canal into the enthrydial cavity. Here in this diagram, you can very well see that an enthrydial cavity bears an enthrydia which has 2 to 3 elongated multicellular stalk. On this stalk lies the entire enthrydia. This enthrydia is covered by a single layer of enthrydial wall. Inside this enthrydial jacket wall lies numerous enterocyte mother cells. Each enterocyte mother cells, upon morphosis or metamorphosis, gives rise to individual enterozoites. These enterozoites, they are released from the opening of enthrydial chambers. These openings of enthrydial chambers are also termed as osteoles. Now, some cell of the upper portion of the jacket of the enthrydium disintegrates. The enterocytes come out from the dehisced enthrydium and form biflagellated enterozoites. A mature enthrydium consists of a short stalk and a globular body. The jacket of the body is formed by a single layer of thin-walled cells and is enclosed by a large number of enterocytes. When we see the structure of an enterozoite of Markensia, we will find that it is biflagellate. Both the flagella are whiplash type, and the nucleus is somewhat sickle shaped, surrounded by cytoplasm. When water enters into the slightly concave disc of enthydiophore, it moves through the narrow canal into the enthrydial cavity. Now, some cells of the upper portion of the jacket of the enthrydium disintegrates and enterocytes come out from the dehisced enthrydium. On the contrary, the position of archegoniophore on the thallus is from almost like that of enthydiophores. An archegoniophore also consists of stalk and lobed disc. The stalk has two longitudinal furrows running along the length as in the transverse section. Here the diagram shows the archegoniophore of thallus of Markensia. On the dorsal surface, from the median groove at the apical notch position or from the median groove arises a stalked archegoniophore. These archegoniophores are again have multiple lobes. On these lobes arise archegonia. This is another set of pictures of archegoniophores in Markensia. The internal structure of the disc is similar to that of the thallus. Like Antheridia, the archegonia are produced in acropetal succession from cells cut off by apical cells on the dorsal surface of each lobe. The diagram of archegoniophore in a lateral section looks something like this. A long stalk, on one side you will encounter the structures of ventral surface, the disc which has epidermis. The epidermis of this disc has similar structure as that of the thallus. The lobes of archegoniophore, they curve inside out, and thus the final position of archegonia, they are inverted in the position. On the outer end of the archegoniophore, there are protective structures and also perithecium which protects the group of archegonia. Depending on the species, 8 or more groups of archegonia develop on the upper surface of the disc, corresponding to growing points of the disc. Initially, when the stalk of the archegoniophore is very short, the archegonial necks are directed upwards and fertilization occurs at this stage. After fertilization, the stalk of archegoniophore elongates and the central part of the disc shows considerable growth, due to which the marginal apical region of the disc along with the group of archegonia is pushed over to the lower surface of the disc. Finally, the growing apices become incurved and lie close to the stalk of archegoniophore. Here in the diagram, you can see the developmental stages of archegonia. The fertilization process takes place when archegonia are erect and when the archegoniophore is young. As archegoniophore grows, the disc also grows in their size, and the fertilized archegonia, they gradually go under the incurve, and the final position of the young sporophyte is always upside down on a archegoniophore. Now, the archegonial necks are directed downwards, and the youngest archegonium is near the stalk and the oldest towards the periphery of the disc. Subsequently, each group containing 12 to 15 archegonia is enclosed by a two-lipped pendant involucral sheath. This involucral sheath is known as pericaceum, and it hangs down vertically from the lower surface of the lobe of the disc. In many species, green cylindrical processes arise from the periphery of the disc between the group of archegonia. These processes are known as rays. These rays provide a functional role to the developing young sporophytes. In Markensia polymorpha, usually 9 rays are present. At maturity, the archegoniophore consists of a long stalk with terminal 9-rayed disc. Archegonia are arranged on the lower surface of each lobe in radial rows, and they are located between the rays. Each group of archegonia is protected by a pericaceum. As mentioned above, the archegonia are in an inverted position. A mature archegonium is a flask-shaped structure with short stalk, swollen venter, and a long neck. Inside the single-layered venter wall is a large egg and a venter canal cell. The neck is tubular and has 6 or more vertical rows of neck canal cells. In the diagram, you can see an archegonia of Markensia, which is shown here as upside down or in an inverted position. The base of the archegonia is swollen, also termed as the venter. In the center of this venter lies a single large haploid cell called as egg cell. Just above the egg cell, or in this scenario just below the egg cell, because this diagram shows archegonia as in inverted position. So the just below the egg cell lies a single venter canal cell. The single venter canal cell is followed by a row of 6 or more neck canal cells. These neck canal cells at the end is covered by 2 or more than 2 cover cells. Now, during the process of fertilization, these cover cells, they disintegrate and they provide the chemoattractant which will be traced by the surrounding enterozoites. They will follow and the neck canal cells will gradually dissolve, and these dissolved neck canal cells provide nutrition to the moving enterozoites, and finally the enterozoid would reach egg cell and fertilization would take place. The enterozoites are transferred from the upper surface of the disc of the longer stalked enteroidiophores to the short stalked archegoniophore. Enterozoites swim to the archegonium and enter through the neck. One of the enterozoites fertilizes the egg and a zygote is formed. Simultaneously, the stalk of archegoniophore elongates and the wall of the venter divides periclinally, forming 2 to 3 layered calyptras. Calyptra surrounds the developing sporogonium. An additional collar-like cylindrical outgrowth arises from the base of the venter. This is known as pseudoperianth or perigynium. So, pseudoperianth or perigynium is nothing but an extension of the basal cells of the archegonium. Here we can very distinctly see the perigonium surrounding each of the fertilized archegonium. Now the group of fertilized archegonium is covered by another layer of sheath termed as perichecium, and finally the outermost multicellular structure called as rays. They also provide protection to the developing sporogonium. So, in case of Markensia, if you could see, there are 3 layers of protective covering. One is immediate outside the developing sporogonium, that is known as perigynium, then followed by perichecium, and then followed by rays. So, these 3 protective structure ensure that the developing sporogonium is much protected, and thus it increases the rate of survival of these developing sporophytes. The zygote divides transversely into an upper epibasal and a lower hypobasal cell. The second wall is generally formed at right angles to the first, and 4 equal cells are formed. It is followed by one more vertical division which is at right angles to the first one. At this stage, embryo is composed of 8 equal cells, that is called as octant stage. In Markensia polymorpha, the epibasal quadrant forms the capsule and hypobasal quadrant forms the foot and seta. Pericynal divisions in the upper capsular region of the developing sporophyte result in the formation of the outer amphithecium and the inner endothecium. The amphithecium forms the jacket of the capsule, whereas the endothecium gives rise to archisporium. Archisporium, by repeated divisions, develops into a massive sporogenous tissue. Nearly half of the sporogenous cells divide transversely and a number of times to form vertical rows of more or less cubical spore mother cells. Rest of the sporogenous cells become long, have tapering ends and develop two spiral thickenings in their walls. These spindle-shaped cells are known as elaters. Elaters in case of Marchantia are elongated cells with multiple cross spiral thickenings across the length. A mature sporophyte of Marchantia would have a foot at the junction of archegoniophore tissues. The foot ensures the attachment of entire sporophyte with the gametophytic structure. Just above the foot, and in this diagram, because this diagram is inverted, just above the foot, multiple parenchymatous elongated cells are found, which are termed as seta, and seta is followed by a globose structure called as capsule. The capsule is formed of one or two layered jacket cells. Inside the jacket lies spore cells and elaters. Spore cells upon dehiscence will give rise to new thalli, whereas elaters, they help in the dispersal of these spores. A sporophyte, in case of a sporophyte, a mature sporogonium of Marchantia is differentiated into foot, seta and capsule. The foot is bulbous or spreading structure directed towards the base of the archegonium. It absorbs water and nutrients from the surrounding tissue of the gametophyte for the development of sporophyte. The seta is short but thick and it connects the foot and capsule. The capsule is almost spherical. Its wall is composed of a single layer of cells with ring-like thickened branches. Inside the capsule are spores and elaters. The elaters are hygroscopic. They coil and uncoil with changes in the humidity of atmosphere. By these movements, elaters help in separation and dispersal of spores. After maturation of spores, the seta elongates considerably. Consequently, capsule breaks through the protective covering called as calyptra, pseudoperianth and perichaeum. These lobes are reflexed, exposing spores and elaters to outer atmosphere. Spores are finally dispersed by wind. You can always see in the diagram that there are certain archegonial head which are seen from the below, and they are sometimes yellow in color, and a part of, in this diagram you can see part of stalk of archegoniophore also. A long stalked mature sporophyte you can see in the diagram. A spore germinates under favorable conditions. The exposure ruptures and the endospore comes out in the form of germ tube, which divides by the transverse divisions, forming a short filament. After some time, the terminal cell begins to function as an apical cell and cuts off segments alternately to the right and left. Finally, the apical cell is replaced by a row of cells and a thallus is formed. To sum up the entire life cycle of Marchantia, you can see the diagrammatic representation of life cycle of Marchantia, where the two different thalli bear male sex organ on Enthridiophore and female sex organ on Archegoniophore respectively. the process of fertilization takes place. The fertilization results into the formation of zygote. The zygote divides mitotically to give rise to 8 cell structure called as embryo. These embryo finally differentiate and give rise to sporophyte, which has a foot, seta and capsule. Inside the capsule are found the sporogenous cells which undergo meiosis. Upon meiosis, they give rise to haploidic generation of cells, that is spores. These spores, they germinate, form a filamentous structure first, and from these filamentous structures arise your thalli. So these thalli could be a male thallus or it could be a female thallus, and thus the entire life cycle is completed. So we have seen today the reproductive aspect of Markensia life cycle, and also how fertilization takes place, and then it is followed by the fertilization, the germination of spores and formation of a new thallus. So in our next lecture we will see other aspects of different bryophytes. We will continue our discussion in the next lecture by starting with Anthoceros. Thank you so much.